So today, lads, we're going to be talking a little bit about Caitlin Clark and Cara Lawson. And this is one of these like kind of shock situations because like Caitlin Clark is one of these players that is very clearly in quote, a dynamic player. She relies on speed. And a lot of people know that about Caitlin Clark. Like we're under no illusion that when you slowing Caitlin Clark down is how you beat Caitlin Clark. Like we all know that. But at the end of the day, it is very good to hear a coach talk about this because this is not how her current coach for the WNBA will talk about it, who ironically is an assistant coach. And I stand by this where it's like there is the coach that is most desperate to get their hands on Caitlin Clark is Nate Tibbetts. Nate Tibbetts, you can see, like if you've ever watched the way the Phoenix Mercury play. The way Nate Tibbetts wants the Mercury to play, Caitlin Clark, no, he kind of needs Caitlin Clark. Like he really does. Like he kind of needs Caitlin Clark to play the way he wants to play. So you're now at a situation where one of the top coaches there in Team USA is like, oh fuck, we want to run, we want to push, and have this dynamic offense. And you can see here, I've had Cara Lawson. I've had conversations with every player over the last couple of days. With Caitlin, she brings dynamic play to the offensive end. She's not just a dynamic scorer. She's one of those dynamic playmakers in the world. She balanced playmaking and scoring really well tonight. She looked comfortable out there. I was proud of how she played in her debut. Caitlin Clark is a unicorn because there is no, in my opinion, she is the only dynamic passer. She is the only, when they say dynamic playmaker, I think she is the only dynamic playmaker that's at a high level. Because there are dynamic scorers. I think Arike is a dynamic scorer. I think Kelsey Mitchell can be a dynamic scorer at times. I think I wouldn't use the word dynamic to describe Paige. Maybe Jackie Young is a dynamic scorer, but like as a dynamic playmaker in the mold of a Halliburton and Magic Johnson, that is Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark by herself. Like there is no like for like player. I'm just trying to think of like a dynamic playmaker. Is there any? Is there any that like can run the show like Caitlin and create as many open shots? There's not. I'm trying to even think of like a good, like you can. Is there any even equivalent? I think these type of players will come up through the years, but like I don't think there's an equivalent. Like the closest thing to a dynamic playmaker in college is Olivia Miles. I'll be interested to see how Yana Martin steps up. Maybe Layla Lacan might project to be that, but no. Like, I don't know. But looking at this right here, Cara sees the vision. She's just getting started. And that's the big thing is like, I was really worried that Caitlin Clark was going to be told to fit in. And Caitlin Clark, I am very much, like, everyone is like, this is why I'm like, okay, the biggest Caitlin Clark stans hate me because I'm willing to criticize things about Caitlin Clark. And the Caitlin Clark haters hate me because I think Caitlin Clark's very good. And if you guys agree that she's very fucking good at basketball, subscribe. We are one subscriber off getting 57.2k. We've been trying to hit that for weeks. We're so close to hitting 57.2k. If we could do that, that would be insane. That being said, it is now a situation when it comes to like obviously dynamic, having a dynamic scorer, having a dynamic playmaker. She is being allowed to be the conductor. She is the conductor of this offense. She's the player that makes everything tick. She's the player that makes everything go, and that's a massive thing. Like for me, that is huge for Team USA. Like that's something that she has been given more trust than any other young player because she is allowed to dictate the pace. She is allowed to dictate the tempo. She has been given the ability to make the decisions on the floor. She is allowed to make the call on whether they play fast, whether they play slow. She is being allowed, again, dictate the tempo of the game, which is huge. The trust that you, like, to put that trust in a player to dictate the tempo of a game is huge. Like, to do that to a young player, especially someone who it's their first game, on her debut, she was given, like Chelsea Gray was taken off the ball 30 seconds into the game. There was a couple of possessions, Kelsey Plum was on the ball. And then there was the trust as well. When, like, if you saw the Paige taking the ball up and they ran the play, Paige took the ball up and ran a fucking play for Caitlin. Like, there is that level of trust in these players. And we saw it on the break. Like, other than Kalia Copper, the one time Kalia Copper went out of the way to like miss Caitlin Clark and then turn the ball over when Caitlin's wide open. Like, we saw Ryan Howard was getting it to Caitlin Clark. These are ball handlers that were getting the ball to Caitlin Clark because they knew if we give Caitlin Clark the ball and we just run in space, I'm going to get it back wide open. I don't need to create. I'm going to get the ball back wide open. And it's one of those things where it's like, she creates the space. She creates the open looks. And that's the one thing is like, there are players in the WNBA who, and this is why, again, a dynamic playmaker and being a dynamic scorer. There are players in the WNBA that are very good at hitting open players. There are players in the WNBA whose gravity frees up other players. There is one player in the WNBA whose gravity frees up other players and they're able to use said gravity to consistently generate wide open shots for her teammates. The only problem with Caitlin Clark is that like she isn't the greatest lateral passer. As in, sometimes her job is to, like, she'll be in a situation where she might have to swing the ball. She's not very good at that. She's not very good at that. She is a downhill. Everything with Caitlin Clark is downhill. She's very little left, right? And when she does pass laterally, it's more so a drive and kick, or she's throwing from the top to the corner. Like, she's throwing a skip pass. It's very rare that the ball will be swung to Caitlin on the wing and she'll make an extra swing to somebody. Something like that. Like, that's not really Caitlin's game. She is a downhill player in everything. And, like, there are going to be times where, again, Caitlin Clark, you don't want her on the floor. But most of the time, you do. And Caitlin Clark will win you games. Caitlin Clark will win you games. She will get you wide open shots. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're Angel Wilson, if you're Breanna Steward, Caitlin Clark's going to get you wide open. And I think that's the thing with Team USA that they need to realize is like, oh shit, we're now in a situation where we've got a player in Caitlin Clark who's not only a generational player, but we have surrounded Caitlin Clark with some of the best players in the world, and she makes life easier for every single one of them. And I mean this when I say it's like, there's no such thing as a player who makes another player better. But players have the ability to make life easier for other players and put them in more positions to succeed, put them in positions to play to their strengths. And there's no one who does that like Caitlin Clark. And it's great to see Cara Lawson is not trying to turn Caitlin Clark into a slow it down half-court offensive player, which I thought she was going to do because Caitlin Clark's not very good at that. I thought that's what we were going to see from Caitlin Clark. And if we saw that version of Caitlin Clark, she's okay. She's better than this current version of Chelsea Gray, but she's only okay at that. We saw Caitlin Clark beat Caitlin, which is huge.